Welcome to round 4 of Good Games Pro Tour Fate Reforged PTQ in Melbourne. I'm Samuel Loy. This is Daniel Unwin.
How's it going, guys? We're coming to you live from the lovely Celtic Club, downtown Melbourne.
And we have a couple of really great feature matches for you this round. We have Oliver Rocks, who is recent Pro Tour attendee.
Yep.
In Pro Tour Hawaii.
And just like 10-year veteran of the Pro Tour circuit. It might even be longer. He's been doing it as long as they've been doing it.
Yep.
From Adelaide?
From Adelaide in Australia.
Playing homegrown hero Luke Mulcahy.
Yeah, a Melbourneite at heart and a Sneak and Show player as well.
Yeah, and also a Pro Tour veteran.
Another Pro Tour veteran, yep. I believe he also went to a Pro Tour Hawaii, but it was a different one.
Okay, so we've got both players ready to go, it looks like. I believe I see an end hostilities in Luke Mulcahy's hand, so that's could potentially be relevant later in the game.
Bit of a blowout. Yep, so Luke Mulcahy on the left, Oliver Rocks on the right on the GP Sydney playmat, featuring some lovely Australian animals trying to kill each other.
Right, so Ollie starts both players start as we usually see in this format with some tapped lands.
Yeah, it's almost worth starting your life pads at 21.
Indeed.
All right, second land and a pass from Oliver Rocks. 2-mana plays. Only an occasional thing in this format.
Yeah, they're really just not that good. We saw a bunch of really good ones from Sasha, but that's the outlier. That's not the norm.
Yep, absolutely. And missing turn 3, which is quite unusual.
It really is.
Most pools will have, maybe 15 morphs in them, and you're probably likely to have 6 to 8, which are on color. So turn 3 is normally a thing.
We also see 2 colors for Ollie and 4 colors for Mulch. So there's and a morph and a turn 3 play. So that's Luke's taken the early lead in both sort of recognizable metrics of the format.
And a Unyielding Krumar from Oliver Rocks. So 3/3 for 4, which can get first strike for white and 1.
So it's just been a bit of a Hill Giant here. That's a card that sort of under-impressed me with this format. Like Hill Giants have traditionally been very good and limited.
Especially with abilities. But yeah, it's a little undersized, a little underpowered, and the cards in this format are pretty good. So.
Yeah, like there's just not that many small creatures. Like a lot of the small creatures are morphs, which end up being a lot bigger than 3/3 or doing interesting things. So 4 mana for a 3/3 just isn't as impressive as it used to be, which is kind of a really cool thing about this format as well.
Yep. So just so everyone's prepared at home, Luke Mulcahy is a very, very deliberate player.
He is. He certainly is.
So we're going to see a long time on some of the decisions here, but he'll normally make the right one.
Yeah,
at least.
He's definitely not afraid to take time to get it right, which is quite an admirable quality. So we're seeing another tapped land. So this is sort of classic. Oh, that is another morph. Okay, I believe that was a multicolored one as well. But
so we see Luke Mulcahy miss his 4th land drop. Somewhat important.
Yeah, very important. If you miss your 4th, you're going to miss your 5th.
Yep. 5th land drop, a key turning point in this format a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So we've got morphs 1 and 2.
He's ahead on colors, ahead on the board, but missing that land is huge and potentially significant in a couple of turns.
Yep. I play quite a lot with Luke Mulcahy, so we have a bit of a personal relationship. He lives around the block from me. We play a lot, and he loves playing as many colors as possible in this format.
My man.
So it's not at all surprising to see that. An Arrow Storm from Oliver Rocks, nailing what looks like to be a Snowhorn Rider to me.
Is that the blue-green? That's the blue-green uncommon guy that bounces
okay, so it's an Ice Feather Avon, which is a blue and a green for a 2/2 flyer. And morphs and can turn up for 1 blue and a green and bounce a creature. So that's definitely a card that...
it's a very good card.
Yes, it's a very good card and a card that Oliver Rocks will really like to know about for Game 2 and 3.
Yeah.
And revealing a Mystic of the Hidden Way to turn up his Dragon Eye Savant, which is a 0/6 defender, which allows him to look at his opponent's hand when you unmorph it.
So we can see Oliver's 3rd color is actually white, as you would sort of expect with that Hill Giant in play. Yeah, but still no white mana.
By the look of his hand, it looks like he's actually a black-white deck splashing the red.
Yeah, we saw multiple white cards there.
So it seems that he's got all of his splash.
He has cast an Arrow Storm, which is not a really splashable color.
So maybe he's got just really excellent mana somewhere in his deck.
I mean, there's a white morph in his hand, but I mean, the white cards weren't very good, so you wouldn't think that was a splash either.
It's possible that he's had to go quite deep to get some playables together.
Yeah,
which, it can happen in any sealed environment. So.
Or he's got really good mana. That's another thing you just mentioned, which could just play your best cards in all 3 colors if your mana's good.
Yep, Mulch hitting his 4th land drop and revealing the fact that he's in all of the colors.
All of them. Every single one.
As expected.
I'm a big fan of as many colors as you can in this format.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. There's, common lands, uncommon lands, and rare lands that all help you splash. So
if you can get 10 dual lands or 9 dual lands and a tri-land, you can just play all your good spells.
So we see a bit of revelation from Oliver Ox. It's a 4-cost sorcery that allows you to look at the top 4 cards of your library, pick 2, the other 2 go to your graveyard, and then you lose 2 life.
This is the card I really like in this format. I didn't like it that much looking at it, but it plays really well. Because everyone's playing 18 land and there's a lot of things that sort of trade off and bounce, card advantage is hard to find.
Yeah, it's significantly better than just a draw 2.
Yeah.
By a long margin. And in the sealed environment, there's normally a position in which you can cast it.
Yeah.
So I found it to be really high value in the sealed environment, personally.
4 mana maze would be 3 mana because you're probably casting it instead of a morph. That's probably the decision.
Yeah.
Okay, so we see him binning 2 white sources and playing 1. So he's hit all his white off the bit of revelation.
Yeah, it's possible that he only needs the 1 source.
And okay, a ride down. So we see that was his draw step. Was the ride down?
That is, yep, exactly what he hit off the bitter revelation.
So
Ride down, for those who don't know what it does, destroys target blocking creature and it gives your attacker trample. So it gets through for the 3 damage as well as removing the 0/6 from the board.
It's a pretty solid removal spell, especially if you're expecting to attack.
And I think that Oliver's probably quite unhappy to have to use it on
an 06?
a Dragon's Eye Savant there, because it's very powerful and can kill absolutely anything in the format.
Yeah, I guess the 06 is going to be able to block pretty much everything as well. So.
Yeah, you need to get rid of it, but it doesn't make you happy about it either. So.
Yeah, the ride down's like premium removal. So we see Luke attacking with. Do we know what this is?
We do not. He's still got his Mystic of the Hidden Way in hand, and that's the only card that Oliver knows about. And I imagine that he's played the Morph here just to hide the information, keep the Mystic for later. And I think he's probably trying to extract the maximum value out of his end hostilities there.
And
it looks like he's also got...
He's got a Kirin.
A Kirin, which is what he's going to cast here, which is a Vigilance Flyer and a 2/3. Importantly, having that 3rd point of toughness to block more.
So his other option here was to burn out the 3/3, which neither one plays particularly well with his end hostilities, but I think end hostilities is a insurance spell for Luke here. He's happy to sort of try and win on the board, and if things go really poorly, he can reset the game and possibly play towards that later.
Yeah, at the moment, his draw is really reflecting that as well. Oliver's drawn a lot more lands than Mulch has. And it just means that he's going to have more action going down the line, and the end hostilities is going to be very powerful in this game.
Yeah. So just because you have a Wrath doesn't mean you should not play creatures. It just means if at some point in the game things are going terribly, you can reset that. And because you know you have it and your opponent doesn't, you're the one who's able to play around it.
Absolutely. Leveraging a Wrath in Limited is actually, quite good. And despite the fact that you have creature decks, they're very, very powerful spells in Limited, in decks that you wouldn't ever see them in a constructed format.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. You usually see Wraths in decks with very few creatures in constructed, but in Limited, they're just so good.
Anything goes. You just play it. Just play it, guys. Yeah. Open your Wrath, put it in your deck.
Yeah.
Profit.
It's almost better in this format than it's been in formats in the past, because...
Despite the fact that it is a 5-mana Wrath, yeah.
Yeah, there's like so many creatures and so little card advantage.
So it says we have dueling Kirins here.
Yep, that's going to be a bit of a stare-off.
Okay, Mulch hitting his 5th land drop there. I imagine that he'll play it pre-combat.
Yeah, so once again, as we discussed in round 3, the 5th land represents that morph being a lot more powerful than previously.
Yeah, and it doesn't even matter what the morph is.
Yeah.
It's just the threat goes a long way.
Especially 5 colors of mana, it could be literally anything.
Yep.
There are actually very few morphs that cost less than 5 to turn up, so Oliver's range for that morph is enormous the second that land hits play.
Exactly. Alright, 5th land drop hitting the play here. And attacks from both, as expected.
So Oliver's in the tank here. He can just put his Kirin in front of the Kirin. That's a pretty safe play.
Yeah, of course it exposes it to any combat trick.
It does.
Which is a tempo swing. And once the Kirin, if you have a feeder resistance here, which is a very important combat trick to keep in mind in this format, it'll get protection, it'll eat the Kirin, and it'll be a 3/4 from here on out, which is
with vigilance.
Quite large for a flyer with vigilance.
Yeah, it's going to be definitely the best creature on the board for a while.
Yep.
So Oliver, seriously considering blocking this morph here, which is a very, very brave play.
It seems that Oliver Ox is not a coward, but he might be getting punished here anyway.
Oh, okay, yeah. So we see our first skin render of the game.
Yeah.
Destroying the 1/5, which we actually saw in Oliver's hand when Luke had a chance to look at it.
So it's quite a low value morph for Oliver to lose here, but he importantly loses a whole card on this exchange.
Yeah, and
for no cards from Luke, whilst Luke still has a Wrath in hand.
And he got to pay mana to turn his guy into a much better creature, which is something he's willing to do at some point anyway.
Yep.
So now 3/6 face up, and it's a good creature on this board.
Okay, so we see Raiders Spoils from Oliver Ox, which we saw in the last round, but just to recap, it is a 4-cost enchantment, which gives every creature you control +1/+0, and if they are a warrior and deal combat damage, you may pay 1 life to draw a card.
I think Luke... Does it only pump warrior? It doesn't, right?
It pumps everything.
Because I just saw a Kieran block a Kieran.
Yeah, he may have missed... Okay, it seems that it's done... Okay, so his Krumaz dealt combat damage, and yeah, the Kieran was blocked by Mulch, and it appears that he didn't know that it didn't doesn't pump. Sorry, that it does pump everything, including non-warrior creatures and cowards.
So that's not a great block. He's going to be okay because he's got the Wrath, but it's a...
And he's going to lose a card out of this exchange as well because the Skull Hunter has an enter the battlefield effect that if you attack with a creature this turn, your opponent must discard a card. And also enters tapped, which is what we're seeing here. But it seems that, Mulch has a perfect bailout plan here, which is the Wrath.
So, like, Ollie had a really, really good turn. And...
It may not matter.
No. He's definitely incentivized Luke to play that Wrath.
Yeah, he's extracted a lot of value here. And, in a non-Wrath game, this would be, very important. Oliver played really well there. Mulch played somewhat loosely. That block wasn't good.
It's a lesson he's probably going to learn pretty well.
Yep. A much better block would have been to block the Krumar and lose the creature anyway and not have Oliver draw a card.
Yep.
But either way, it's really just not that good. And this attack probably symbolizes that Mulch is about to sweep the board.
Yeah, that creature would definitely not attack if he wasn't planning to cast his Wrath. But, I mean, his Wrath definitely got good enough. I think Ollie's only got 1 card in hand.
Yep, so that sweet 2 for 3.
He's got two cards, yeah.
And also being able to turn off that Raiders Spoils somewhat, so Oliver doesn't have such a good card advantage engine online.
2 warriors off the board, right?
Yeah. Neither of which were getting blocked here.
Yeah.
Alright, so Oliver, considering what his follow-up to this is going to be, Seeker of the Way, a human warrior with prowess and also gains lifelink when you play a non-creature spell.
So it's looking pretty decent here.
Yeah, and it looks like we're seeing a Delve spell and Necropolis Fiend.
That's a pretty good rare.
Yep. Way to bomb out Ollie.
So it's a 9-cost creature with Delve, and it's a 4/5 flying.
4/5 flying, which has an ability which is pay black, X, and tap. You can remove X cards from your graveyard to give a creature -X/-X until end of turn.
So his graveyard's a very strong resource with that in play.
Unfortunately, he had to cash in a bunch of it to get it on board.
Yep.
But I think it was well worth it in this position. He's got a board presence to Mulch's none right now.
And the base stats of 4/5 flying.
4/5 flying, 5/5 flying with the Raiders Spoils. It's going to be very hard for Mulch to outclass that.
With legitimate dragon or demon as it would be. So Luke's got some pretty good cards in hand, but they're just not looking very good in the face of that demon.
Oliver's playing a very good tempo game, we've seen, and a stronger hand from Mulch has just been neutered pretty much by a bunch of the players.
Yeah, like Ollie didn't have to commit his prime threat to the board before the Wrath was cast.
Yep.
So Luke's got a couple of options here.
So I think what we have in hand is we've got a Bring Low, which is a 4-cost removal spell that does 3 damage or 5 damage if they have a +1/+1 counter, and that's what we're seeing here on the Seeker of the Way before Oliver Rocks can untap and protect it.
Yep, and then he's got 2 quality morphs. One is a green uncommon, which is a 5/5?
Pine Walker, yep, so it's a 5/5 that allows you to untap all your morphs. No, sorry, untaps every time, it untaps any creature that you turn face up. So, it's a real card.
And Luke choosing not to commit them to the board because they could be eaten by
the Necropolis Fiend. The Sultai Demon.
So Ollie with 2 warriors to play very nicely with his enchantment thanks to Raid, and Luke's really back against the wall.
Yeah, I think Luke really should have committed a threat to the board there, even if it was going to die. He needed Oliver Rocks to not attack him first of all, and to also commit mana to doing stuff like that.
Yeah, Raid wouldn't have been triggered. Realistically, the morph wouldn't have been killed.
Yeah, he was in a position where he probably doesn't want to use his Necropolis Fiend that way anyway.
Yeah.
And I think we're about to see him get punished for this. It does look like Oliver Rocks has taken control of this game. and he's sitting on board with a 5/5 flyer, a 3/3, and a 2/1, both of which allow him to draw cards. So,
one of the more powerful morphs of the format.
Forced to play it face up, and a weaker morph face down.
So we're seeing quite some good rares from Luke, and
he's just not been in a position to leverage them quite as well. Oliver seems to have all the answers.
Yeah, he's bounced back incredibly well after that Wrath.
It does look like he's out of resources at this point, but it seems like his Warriors will be able to refill his hand here.
So we're going to see the Necropolis Fiend activation, are we? Yep, he's going to eat the morph.
Okay, so removing 2 cards from his graveyard and paying 3 mana. It seems he's paying... Okay, I may have that card slightly wrong.
Is it just X and tap?
It might be X and tap.
Yeah, okay. I guess he had 3 cards in the graveyard.
So. And Luke trading off with a token there just so he doesn't have his opponent draw a card.
Yeah,
and falling to 5 life. And
the power of the flyer.
The flyer is now lethal. Seems like Oliver bricked on that draw, but you know what? They're all going somewhere. So.
So now we can see Luke cast his morph face up as a 5/5 and go up to 6, but he's in a position where he has to draw a removal spell for that 5/5 flyer.
Yeah. Generally speaking, if you're in 5 colors, you do have access to quite a lot of removal, so he's definitely not drawing dead here. But yeah.
Yeah, there's plenty of cards to getting back in this game in the format. We don't know if we've got them, but something like Dead Drop would just be excellent.
Yep. No doubt that he's playing them. He's got a graveyard stocked full for Delve spells as well, and I imagine if he's got Treasure Cruise in his pool, he'll be playing it. He loves that card.
He really does, as a lot of Magic players do.
Yeah, it turns out it's a hit. Who would have thought?
It's not as unbalanced and limited as it seems to be in Constructed, but it's still very good.
Yeah, it's very good for common.
Yeah,
that's for sure. All right, Oliver in the tank here over whether he's attacking with his Mardu War Chief or not. So it seems like he's using the damage from the War Chief and the Necropolis Fiend to eat the Pine Walker.
Yep, so he's essentially trading 1 for 1 and some resources. Oh, did he really have 3? He really had 3 cards in graveyard still?
Well,
wow. But his graveyard's a little bit off screen, so we can't really see it, but apparently he was able to give the Pine Walker -3/-3. And now we're sort of in the needing Dead Drop, but that does not appear what he's got.
Well, he's alive for 1 more turn if you can deal with the Necropolis Fiend at instant speed here, but...
Oliver Oxen's drawing a card, doing him 3.
Doing him 3, yeah.
He does have the answer. Oh, he does. He's got a kill shot, but he's
doing, sorry, Oliver doesn't get to draw a card.
But is he taking lethal?
He's taking 5, going to 1.
Okay, yeah.
And the follow-up threat.
Is a good one as well.
Yes.
All right, we're in Dead Drop range now.
No, that's a Plains from Mulch, so it looks like we're going to game 3.
Oh,
Villainous Wealth, sorry.
There you go. That's a whole lot better than a Plains.
All right, so Villainous Wealth for 5, I believe.
That was incredible.
So Villainous Wealth is a sorcery which costs black, green, blue, and X. You flip X cards off the top of your opponent's library, and each of them which costs X or less, you get to cast for free.
So he's actually dead.
Yeah, it seems that way.
He can't play the flyer because it costs 6. The kill shot can't be played because it's in his main phase.
Yeah.
And the 2 removal spells don't kill his creatures. He can use both to kill 1, but he can't play the flyer. So.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the throttle is a little short of killing him here.
Is he just tried to cast?
Okay, we might need to get a judge ruling on that. Can we stop the game?
Stopped?
Can you stop the game, Marco, please?
All right.
It doesn't seem to be relevant, but that was... so the Saltire Scavenger has a converted mana cost of both to 6, so it means that you can't get it off the Villainous Wealth there. It's not just X cards, it's X cards of converted mana cost.
Pisbro are unable to stop the game. Can you go?
Alright, just go Charm putting that on the top of the library. And a morph from Oliver Ox as a follow-up play. Hopefully we'll get this sorted out. It doesn't look like Luke will win anyway. That's a Plains, sorry, an island, I think.
Yeah, and he's dead.
He's just dead to this. But yeah, it seems like an unintentional game rule violation there. He's getting it sorted out by a judge. The game's about over anyway, so
it's going to be a pretty interesting fix.
Thankfully, it doesn't make any difference, I don't think. But like,
yeah, I'm going to be interested to see how they resolve this. So, despite it not being relevant for the game, it was important that a judge is the one who makes that decision.
Absolutely.
Not us.
Yep.
So that's what they're spending time on now.
So Villainous Wealth is an interesting card to play. I've seen a lot of it in this limited format, and I've seen a lot of people try and make it work, and I haven't seen it being good that many times.
Me neither.
It seems like it'd be really sweet if you can build around it, but like I've never seen a deck that really properly capitalizes on it and gets actually rewarded for playing.
Unfortunately, I think it costs 9 mana because so many of the morphs cost 6, the base creatures.
Yeah, it's a 9 mana spell, maybe a 10 mana spell.
Yeah,
it's not unachievable in this format though. Like to actually do that.
But we just sit there cast for 8, and it wasn't good enough to deal with 2 creatures. So,
all right. So it looks like we're all sorted out for that. Oliver Ox takes game 1, and both players will be going to sideboard here.
It's likely that the players and the judge agreed that the game was going to be over.
It was over either way. Yeah.
Yeah. And someone probably ended up with a warning out of this.
Yep.
All right, so we're going to see him sideboard. So that was a really interesting game. Like Luke appeared to have a very powerful hand, and he was setting up really well for this wrath. But Ollie just pulled so far ahead twice.
Welcome back to the booth. Yeah, it was an interesting game. We're seeing our lovely long table view here of Mulch on the right, Oliver Ox on the left, Matt Rogers on our right and front, and then his mysterious opponent, Yufan Wei, hiding off to the side on the left.
Just out of camera view. And if you see all 4 players in the midst of sideboarding.
Yeah.
So you got access to a really large sideboard in this format, and if you're 5 colors, you have a lot of
things you can do. It did appear to me that Mulch's deck looked really quite strong in that game. He wasn't able to capitalize it. What's important in this format is tempo, and Oliver Ox was able to take advantage of the fact that Mulch was a turn behind every step of that game.
We also saw the Warrior Enchantment just been really impressive.
Raider Spoils is a very powerful spell, and it went under the radar for the first few weeks of the format.
Like the one extra power was just massive for all of his creatures in a lot of those situations. It just makes... Yeah, like
anything that breaks parity in this format is really important, and it certainly does that.
Yeah, and the potential to draw cards is, drawing cards is pretty good out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It turns out that you want cards, and you want your opponent not to have cards. You heard it here first.
So it was interesting. Like Luke had definitely the early game advantage with Oliver missing his no play on turn 3, but Luke not being able to hit that 4th land.
Yep.
Seems significant. But by the time he ended up getting the lands to get back in the game, he was a couple of turns out as far as tempo goes.
Yeah, it's also possible that he was a little bit conservative with some of his plays. Mulch is known as a very defensive player. He will almost never commit something that he doesn't have to the board, especially when he's got a Wrath in hand.
Yeah, we're both a little surprised he didn't play that morph, because it could have died, but we felt like that was possibly fine.
I think as it turned out, given the draws he had down the line, without that game rule violation, it appeared that it really did cost him.
Yeah. It was a 3/2. It's going to die to an activation for 2 anyway.
There's no place that you can cast that safely. So
yeah.
Oh well. It looks like the game 2 will be, I think more advantageous for Luke to be on the play here.
Absolutely.
We'll see if he gets to leverage his card quality here.
He's got a lot of morphs, and because there's a lot of colors, there's a lot of equity in that. Yeah. And we saw some reasonable ones. We didn't see great ones.
No, Spell Snatcher is a very good spell.
Oh, that is a very good morph.
The text on that card for anyone playing at home is it's a morph that costs 4 to cast naturally, and it's a 3/3. What's really good about it is its unmorphability. It costs you 4 and 2 blue mana, and it counters target spell an opponent controls. You exile that spell, and at any point in the game, from there on out, you can actually cast that spell. So you don't have to cast it immediately. It's not like a redirect. It's nothing like that. You just steal their spell, and you get to cast it for free whenever.
So even if you get a kill shot, it's just going to sit there in the exiled zone, waiting for them to attack with a creature, and then you're like, cool, maybe I'll kill it.
Yep, exactly. You can steal a creature with Raid activated on your own turn.
Yeah. The downside is it's a 6 cost to flip morph. So you have to pass with 6 mana up, which means you've got to be in a pretty good spot on the board.
You do.
Because it's a rare, it's really hard to read. Like, Oliver's going to have information about that now because he's already seen it. But
it's quite hard to play around, though. It's just going to do what it does if you're in a position to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
I think there's some stats on mtggoldfish.com about morphs which are turned face up, and that's right at the top of the list of most wins per time you unmorph it, and something like 92%.
That's pretty incredible.
It's pretty good. So if you're in the position to take advantage of it, I think you're pretty happy.
So we saw 3 very powerful late game spells from Mulch in that game. They were a Wrath, a Villainous Well, and that Morph, but none of them were really utilized in enough of a way for him to actually win the game.
Absolutely. So, if he's playing a Villainous Well deck, Mulch really does think that he can draw out a game for as long as possible.
Yep.
And take advantage of, just drawing lands and trading off spells with his opponent. And here we see two color fixing spells from Oliver. It may be as we expected that his mana's pretty good, and that's why he's able to be pretty greedy with his spells.
Yeah, well, we saw the red-black dual land from him in game 1, so he does at least have all 3.
Yep. Which is interesting. An actual 3-color deck in this format's quite unusual. You normally see 2 colors with a splash, 2 colors with 2 splashes, or straight 5 colors.
Yeah.
And a straight 3-color tribal deck or whatever, or it's got Raider spells in it, I would say that it's probably pretty tribal.
So Oliver choosing to play a raid creature without the raid activated here. It's a 2/3, so Luke's not going to have a good attack into that. But it also means Oliver probably didn't have a morph, because if he had a morph, playing a morph and then being able to attack and then play that afterwards is a lot better way to use that card.
He does give up a bunch of information. I do believe he has a Raider spoil in hand though, and an Arrow Storm. So it could be that he wants a 2/3 so he can attack and then start getting his card draw on.
Yep. So a 4th land would allow him to turn that into a 3/3, which is a good way to get through a morph. And I think that's what we're about to see. Yeah,
right, here we go. It hits the battleground.
Okay, so Mulch's morph is actually a 3/2, but he chose rather than to trade to Kill Shot, which is the card we've talked about a bit.
Yeah, so Mulch is ahead on board here. So Raider Spoils, whilst a very good spell, is a do-nothing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It requires you to have creatures, and it requires the point of power to be great, or for you to be hitting with them.
Yeah.
So none of those things are true when you don't have a creature.
Exactly.
And we see a Kirin off 5 colors of mana. So while Luke didn't have a 5th land drop again, he does at least.
He luckily had his
spells.
4th this time, and his spells are high quality. And he's got the ability to cast all of them pretty much at this point.
Okay, and we see an Arrow Storm killing them
Hitting
all.
a Mystic of the Hidden Way.
So that Arrow Storm's really good, being able to do 4 damage and instant speed, and
I believe it's a sorcery.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a sorcery with raid that deals 4 damage to target creature or player, and if you attacked, it does 5 damage.
Right. But
hardcast evasive creature from Mulch.
Unfortunately, the storm costs more than a morph, so there is a tempo loss if you are using it to kill a 2/2.
So it looks like Oliver is sitting on very little right now. It's possible that he's holding some removal up.
Yeah, he's just passed with 5 mana, and we see another dual land from him. So while that is a tri-land, it doesn't appear that he's using the blue. He's just playing it as a red-white tapped land.
Yep.
So we've seen at least 4 fixes in his 3 colors.
One of the things that's really great about the tri-lands in this format is they're actually color fixes for 3 different color pairs.
Yeah, you're trading the life to get an extra color, and that's usually a pretty good deal.
All right. So it's possible that he's got something like Mardu Charm here, although I would have expected that to hit the Mystic of the Hidden Way here in combat.
Yeah, possibly when Luke was tapped out, possibly during combat, but he's just taken 5, and another morph from Luke, and he's untapping. Oliver's untapping, so this is a really bad spot for him.
To me, this would represent that he's on Stone Nothing.
Yeah, some lands or some really awkward spells.
Of course, Luke really has to start thinking about the possibility of an end hostilities from Oliver's side of the board here.
Yep.
If he's still not committing anything to the board. But here we have a Necropolis Fiend, so Big Daddy's back.
He is. He's got the 9 resources between 7 lands and 2 graveyard spells.
Of course, it means it can't remove anything right now, which is a big deal. And it still can't block Mystic of the Hidden Way. And I think we see a Villainous Wealth in Luke Mokkai's hand there.
We do indeed, and he can play it, but it would only be for 4. So I think that's quite unlikely to be cast here.
Yeah, I would expect...
and hostilities.
And then hostilities. So the Necropolis Fiend is, doing a pretty good job of taking some pressure off here.
Holding off 2 creatures. Is that a pony back we just saw Oliver draw?
Yeah, the hand was moving pretty fast. I actually missed that one, so let's go with yes.
And he's also got the 2-drop black creature with Raid.
Yeah, Mardu Skull Hunter.
And that's going to be incredible here, given the quality of Luke's hand.
Yep. So, forced to discard either End Hostilities or a Villainous Wealth. I imagine I'd be getting rid of the Villainous Wealth here.
Yeah, I mean, neither's great given that your last card. So, what have we got here?
He's turning it
Oh
face
my
up.
goodness! Now that is that morph at full power.
Yep, that's what we want to see. So Luke now owns the Skull Hunter, doesn't have to discard a card.
Yeah, and instead
Pretty swingy.
Instead, Oliver might be the beneficiary of discarding a card.
Yeah, it looks like that's going to happen next turn.
So it doesn't let you play the creature at instant speed. You can only play the spells at the speed they can be cast on. So Luke's going to be able to cast it this turn after he attacks.
And yeah, receive all the value possible.
And he can also sort of attack with all these creatures if he likes here. Like, while Oliver can trade for the 3/3, it's not like that's particularly advantageous for him.
Yeah, and because that Yulden Kruma... Oh no, the Yulden Kruma can get first strike right now, so I imagine that won't happen.
Oh, right, because he's got 2 mana up.
He's got 2 mana up. It's a 4/3 with the possibility of getting first strike here, and we just see the Villainous Wealth.
Cast pre-combat, it's actually hitting twice. So that's pretty impressive. That 4/5 is going to make him lose quite a few life.
4 life points, yeah, if you haven't attacked with a creature that turn.
Yep.
It's a Bellowing Saddle Brute. An Orc Warrior.
An Orc Warrior. Alright, so he gets 2 of Oliver's warriors that he would have liked to draw with his spoil.
And Secret of the Hidden Way, a very strong spell. We've seen it in a bunch of formats. Actually, in the modern GP, it made an appearance. Which is, pretty good for a card that we thought was, barely standard playable a month ago.
And for those playing these team standard formats, that's one of the cards that you might want to play in multiple decks and you're not able to based on the rules.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird that would be a sort of like pivot point for your team constructed deck, but it's one of the ones in discussion. So we just see Luke have an incredible turn. He's committed like multiple creatures to the board, and that's
Oliver packs it up. It's all dead.
Luke gives back 3 of his creatures that he had taken.
Yep.
All right, so we saw a Villainous Wealth for 4 being actually pretty impressive. Like, Luke didn't so much need it. Like, he was in a really good spot.
It did put him away, though.
Yeah, it wasn't the sort of the necessary punch to kill him.
Yeah. Welcome back to the booth and the long shot of the table.
So once again, we see both tables in sideboard mode.
Yep. So just for a little bit of information, we the venue that we're at is the Celtic Club on Latrobe Street in Melbourne, and this event's by Good Games Melbourne. So shout out to Russell and Isaac who put this event together. It's a double event. We've got a PTQ today on Saturday, and tomorrow we've got a team championship for Australia. Yeah,
I actually heard some gossip earlier. It's not really gossip, but I believe this is Russell's 16th year running PTQs in Melbourne.
That's pretty good.
So that's some incredible tenure for one of our local store owners.
Good on you, Russell. We definitely appreciate the years of you making this a thing for us.
Yeah, we love you, Russ. You do a great job. And yeah, so it's good he's getting a great turnout. This is a pretty good venue.
Yep.
163 people spread over a couple of rooms, and it's all running pretty smoothly.
And you can go downstairs for a beer if you're really just having a bad day. So,
or if you're having a really good one.
Or having a really good day. I know I'll be taking advantage of that later on. So, shout out to the Celtic Club. They're always happy to put us up here, and it's a really good venue.
Absolutely.
So,
that game was pretty good. We saw Luke getting ahead on tempo, and then with a couple of blowout plays.
We basically saw exactly the same suite of spells from Luke that he had in the first game, except he was actually able to use them this time.
Yeah,
and prove how powerful they were.
Far more efficiently than...
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Ollie had a couple of turns there where he didn't do much.
He bricked out. Like, he just had no action. I think he kept a reasonable hand. It was a little land heavy, and it just turned out that he just drew lands off the top instead of any action spells, which is, it's a risk. 18 lands in your deck out of 40, or going on about 45% there.
And Necropolis Fiend's being a 9-drop, even if you need cards in your bin, it still costs a lot of mana. And because he didn't really have the resources to trade off, he ended up needing his 7th land to cast it. And that was one turn too late to really be impactful for that board.
Absolutely. It is a good spell to stabilize with nonetheless, and it got him in shouting range of that match, but Mulch just had all the action in hand and was able to just drown him in the bathtub, basically.
Yeah, when you win a game with end hostilities in hand, you're pretty comfortable with that game.
Yeah. It's where you want to be. Yeah. Sounds like winning to me.
So I think Ollie is doing another little adjustment to his deck. I'm not sure what card he saw to trigger this, or it could be a fact that he is now on the play.
Yep. I think play draw is a big thing in this format, and I've had a lot of seal pools that I've played which have caused me to make changes on playing the draw.
Yep.
Like having a bunch of options that get worse and better, and a bunch of things which have raid as well.
That's very true. Far more efficient if you're out in front.
Yeah, exactly. And Oliver has a little bit more information now that, he knows that he can't stabilize he can't allow Mulch to stabilize and still be in this game.
Yeah, he's seen very powerful cards over the first 2 games.
Exactly. So he knows he's going to have to go and get in under him. So I
Yeah.
imagine we'll see things like maybe some combat tricks coming back in.
And yeah, I'd almost commit suicide if I saw Oliver choose to draw here.
Yes, I think that might be a little bit of a brash move, but all the same, I think it's it's almost surely to be taking the play on this occasion.
Okay, he's taking quite a while to.
Now, a deck that he might be sideboarding into, which is a legitimate option in a lot of sealed pools in this format, is a token-based strategy. We often see it in the Mardu colors, and it's got things like Ponyback Brigade that make tokens, and Hurling Outburst, along with things like Trumpet Blast and Rush of Battle to pump your entire team.
Yeah, there's quite a few really good uncommons that support that archetype. Cards we've seen so far, and they're all pretty good main deck cards. So
well, some of the scuttlebutt about this format is that deck is really good, but you only really ever want to go for it if you don't have other options, and it's much better to sideboard into.
Okay, that's interesting.
And I can see a world in which it would be, he might have half the support there, and feels like it's gone up in value depending on what he's seen out of Luke's deck so far.
Yeah, it's very possible that he has the deck, but it's a little underpowered unless his opponent's really slow.
Yeah, and Mulch is pretty slow.
Absolutely slow.
Playing a lot of enter the battlefield tapped lands alongside some powerful 5 and 6 drop abilities. So.
I don't think he's even showed a card that costs less than 3.
I haven't seen a 2-drop yet. Yeah.
Except for the 0/6, which you'd much rather play as a morph.
Yeah, that's a morph. That's a 3-cost card. I think. I can't see you casting that on turn 2 too often. You'd have to be very behind. And that's not normally what you are on turn 2 in this format. So.
I think the good thing about Raid is that your creature doesn't have to get through to trigger, so even if Luke does play the 06 and Oliver's got a 2-drop, he can still
get some advantage out of his spells. All right, both players looking over their hands here. We're seeing an Arrow Storm, Ride Down, and a Dual Land out of Oliver. I can't quite see the other spells, but they do look like they're pretty strong.
And Luke's going to Paris.
All right.
So mulligan's not such a big deal, especially when you're on the draw.
Yeah, mulligan's pretty safe. These games sometimes come down to cards, but it's more often decided by tempo.
Yep. Especially given Oliver's deck.
Which is actually quite unusual for a limited format. You do find that card advantage is king in most limited environments.
Especially slow limited formats like this one is.
Yeah.
Like, people are routinely getting turns 7 and 8.
Yeah, Wizards have done a really good job of preserving the other elements of the format. All right. Both players happy. Oliver rocks on 7, Mulcahy on 6.
So I think we can see some plains and some island in Luke's hand. So he's got at least 4 colors to start with, which is not bad off your mulligan.
Yeah, I think he's got a Bringlow and a War Behemoth as well.
All right, so 2 tap lands for Oliver. I'm not sure if he actually has a black source.
Not as yet, but we'll see how we go. So, Mulch out of tapped lands already. He just drew an End Hostilities this turn though, so...
He does have a black source, and he's got a morph. I believe this is a 5/3. And Luke can decide between Kill Shot or playing his own morph. Like, passing with 3 mana up, one of which is white, is a pretty good signal that you have Kill Shot.
Yeah. That being said, there's not that many ways to play around it either, so...
Well, yeah, like, this is something that happened to me in draft the other day, was my opponent actually just said, okay, cool, go. And I was like,
I guess you get to have this exchange if you want.
Yeah, they're like, play another creature, say go. I'm like, well, what do I do now? I can't just sit here and kill shot if he's going to not do anything.
Okay, a Unyielding Kruma yet again.
Okay, so
Oliver.
So we see the black and the white common morphs trading as morphs. And yeah, 4 mana 3/3, which is going to get burned.
He's going to bring it low here. Little John, aka Luke Mulcahy. Alright, so a morph to follow up here.
We see a wealth of removal spells in Oliver's hand.
Both players very prepared to play slow games here.
So Luke's got a Villainous Wolf. He doesn't have a green source, but he's not too worried about that because he
might as well wait anyway. He's got the kill shot up here, and hostilities in hand without the white source.
He's got 2 kill shots now, okay. So
he's making the trade here. A bit risky into 5 mana with Feat of Resistance in the format.
That's true. I guess he's possibly happy to trade 1-for-1 with Feat of Resistance in that spot.
I mean, you probably have to at some stage anyway, but it's it's a good spell.
And we see the first raid guy cast with raid active.
All right. So a Nomad Outpost from Mulcahy.
Still no green source, but that does turn on his End Hostilities.
Yeah, End Hostilities is now live.
And if we are to see, oh, is it going to happen? It's going to happen. Slow roll in, Sully. Yep, it's happening.
The Raiders spoils.
So that's actually a warrior token. So he now has 5 power of card drawing goodness.
Raiders spoils really, showing its value in these games.
Absolutely. Like just that 2-card combo right there is just really impressive.
Yep. That Mardu tribal synergy.
So I'd expect to see both enter the battlefield like tapped and attacking at this point. Luke has a choice. He's got the kill shot, but he might just need to end hostilities them, given that they're going to be drawing cards and he doesn't have other answers.
Yeah, it's possible that a really long game plan from Luke might be correct here, in which he allows himself to take some damage, get some cards out of Olivrox's hand, and eventually draw lands and play draw go for a little while. Get the most value possible.
Such a bad spot that he's taken 5. His opponent's drawing 2 cards. If he casts End Hostilities, his opponent is still way up and can reload. If he doesn't cast End Hostilities, his opponent doesn't even have to add to the board because he's got such a good position. So
yeah,
I think I would probably play Kill Shot here because it's just so bad to be doing things like that. All right, so I believe the spell is still on the stack. We know it's going to resolve. Okay, it has now resolved. All right, so
sounds like Mulcher's just decided to take it, and
Oliver's going to draw 2 cards.
Yep, that's not Happy Town.
It is not. It is really not.
All right, another land from Luke Mulcahy here. I'm assuming that at some point he'll decide to reset this board, and it appears to be right now. So that's a really bad exchange.
It was horrible, but I guess things get a lot worse if he doesn't.
You don't often find a spell like End Hostilities being card disadvantaged, but I guess today was the day for it.
So Ollie's just going to reload with a couple of creatures. He's got a handful of cards. Let's see, 4 mana played for Kieran. Not a warrior.
Not a warrior.
Cowards can absolutely block that.
Flying ones to that.
But Luke cannot. Thank you. Okay, so we finally have a green source from Luke, which couldn't have come at a better time. Next turn he'll be able to Villainous Wealth for 5.
Yep, this kill shot's actually going to get some value here, and if he hits an untapped land off the top of his decks and gets the Villainous Wealth for 6, this could be the card advantage that Mulch needs to get back into this.
Yeah, make up for the horrible End Hostilities. Okay, so he's choosing not to kill shot that. I guess he's saving it for a warrior, and he's still on a healthy life total.
I think that's fair.
Oh,
Skull Hunter.
Yep. Could also have been saving it for a Skull Hunter. He's got to pitch a card, and he's only got 2, so being able to discard Kill Shot here is actually pretty good. Protects his Villainous Wealth.
Yeah, this is the disadvantage to being in a deck that wants to run all its lands out against a Skull Hunter deck. You'll find in this format that most people will stop playing lands at some point if they think they're going to get Skull Hunted at some point, so they can protect their gas spells.
But with the Giant X spell,
with Giant X spell, you don't actually get to do that. So we've seen Skull Hunter be very, very good in these games so far.
And a tapped land, so it means he's only casting it for 5. Let's see if that can be really good.
Bit of Revelation.
Not bad.
A Plains.
Not good.
Another Plains.
Not great.
Another Mountain. And a Swamp.
Oh my goodness. Not only is Oliver not drawing 4 lands in the next 5 cards, Luke is.
And he also, basically just bricks out on the only way he had to get back into this game.
Yeah.
I'm going to make a stunning prediction here that Oliver's probably in the driver's seat now.
I can't think of many sequences that are going to get Mulch back in this game.
Yeah, assuming he's only got the 1 End Hostilities, of course, but he gets to resolve his Bitter Revelation. It's going to cost him 2 life, but it's definitely worth it.
4 good morphs, but he's so far behind on the board now.
So this is definitely a choice that Luke made at the start of this tournament to construct a deck like this, and this is how it goes awry.
Yeah,
it starts to get hard as you go down the line. You face better and better sealed decks to keep up with a good curve, and it seems to be what Oliver's able to punish him with here.
Yeah, having to run the End Hostilities into a 3-3 and a 2-1 was just such an awful spot. Like we just see the power of that enchantment over and over again in this match.
Yeah, Raider Spoils is
it was a card
very good.
I hadn't really seen in action much, and I'm thoroughly impressed.
Yeah, the card's a lot better than it looks, and I think it's one of the sleeper hits of the format, really.
Yeah. You definitely see if you've got the support for it, just enough warriors, it's just incredibly powerful.
Also quite good in the tokens deck. If you can get that to happen, give you +1/+0 to all your dorks, it's pretty sweet.
A mild anthem is still an anthem.
Yep. And quite a lot of the tokens in this format are warriors, as it turns out.
So that is 10 damage? 10 damage coming through. Oliver's going to be able to draw a card again.
He gets to draw 2 cards, actually, because the Sultai Scavenger
really?
is a bird warrior.
There you go.
Warriors all over the shop. Doesn't look like he hit much, but it's probably not that relevant at this point. Arrow Storm for lethal.
And there we go. That's a handshake. So Oliver Ox.
Oliver Ox getting there in game 3, 2-1. Congratulations, Oliver. His deck seems, quite good. The mana is definitely there to support his 3 colors, and he's made it work. He's playing a couple of spells which are, not the best in the world. And a Mind Swipe, it appears.
Wow, he bought it in 2 blue sources and a Mind Swipe. That was what he was tanking on for so long?
That's pretty deep, and yeah.
Okay, looks like we're going over to our backup match.
Okay, so it looks like we've got the guys going to game 3 here. So Matthew Rogers on your left, Wei Yifan on your right, and welcome back to the booth as we see the our match 1 sign their match slip.
Yep. So what we've got in our backup match, we've got Matt Rogers, who is from New Zealand.
New Zealand, on the New Zealand national team. He's going to, I believe, Paris, I think.
Nice
is Nice.
Okay, he's going somewhere in Europe to play the team's
He's going somewhere in France to play the World's Championship.
Yep.
World Magic Cup, I believe it's called.
Officially called.
Yeah.
And this is stop 1 for him. So next weekend he'll be playing a GP in Europe. And it
looks like they're also signing the match.
Oh, okay, all right. So with that introduction, that fine introduction, we won't actually get to see Magic. We can see that Matt actually lost there 2-1. So he drops. Both these matches have now got a 4-0 player and a 3-1 player.
Yep.
Everyone's still in contention, with a couple of them a lot better than the other 2.
Yeah. So I think we've got an 8-round tournament today.
Yep.
So the expectation for anyone who is playing this tournament is that you can get into the top 8 on an X1 record, and then you can let draft decide.
Yep.
And an X2 record probably won't get you there. There's some statistical chance that it will, but going down the line, it gets a bit messy, and we'll have to see how it goes.
Yeah, it always gets very messy going to the last couple of rounds. Like, it's possible if you're 6 wins in 6 rounds, you can have two intentional draws in rounds 7 and 8 to get there, but that's not even a lock with this number of players.
It's not a guarantee, no.
Yeah.
It's a very messy tournament for those things, but basically, if all these guys just turn up to their matches and keep winning, everything will be fine.
We're going to update you on the finer details of that messy tiebreaker math when we get towards the end of the tournament and show you some matches of people who are in contention. But at this point, all we know is that you should try and win Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, try and win games of Magic the Gathering. It's the easy way. Right. Easy mode.
So that's us for round 4. We'll be coming back to bring you round 5 action in a very short time.
Thanks for watching, guys. See you soon.